Some disappearances happen in silence. Others leave behind a trail of questions. But few are as haunting and unresolved as the story of Natalee Holloway, a young woman who vanished without a trace while on a school trip to Aruba. This is the true story of Natalee Holloway. Natalee Ann Holloway was born on October 21, 1986, in Mountain Brook, a suburban area in Birmingham, Alabama. She was the daughter of Beth Holloway and Dave Holloway, and was known for her vivacious spirit, infectious smile, and bright future ahead of her. Growing up, Natalee was a high achiever. She was a dedicated student with a passion for helping others, particularly children. Her love for adventure was obvious from a young age. She enjoyed sports, particularly running and swimming, and was deeply interested in science. She had an inquisitive nature, always asking questions and striving to learn more. Natalee was also very close to her family, and her parents spoke often of her kind heart and sense of humor. In 2005, Natalee graduated from Mountain Brook High School with plans to attend the University of Alabama. As part of her graduation celebrations, Natalee joined a group of her classmates on a school trip to Aruba, a popular Caribbean destination known for its sandy beaches and crystal-clear waters. The trip was a part of the senior graduation festivities, and Natalee was excited for the opportunity to relax before embarking on the next chapter of her life. She traveled to Aruba with about 120 classmates and teachers, staying at the Holiday Inn on the island. On the evening of May 29, 2005, Natalee and her friends went out to a nightclub in Oranjestad, Aruba's capital. It was there that Natalee would be last seen. The club was lively, filled with music, people dancing, and the excitement of the young travelers. Natalee was enjoying herself, and she spent the evening with her friends before parting ways with them late in the night. Around 1 a.m., she was seen leaving the nightclub with 3 young men, Joran van der Sloot, Deepak Kalpo, and Satish Kalpo. Joran van der Sloot, a local 19-year-old, had met Natalee earlier in the evening, and the two had interacted casually. The 3 men later claimed they had dropped Natalee off at her hotel, but this was the last time anyone saw her. When Natalee didn't return to her hotel room that morning, her friends and chaperones grew worried. At around 6 a.m., a search was launched, and the authorities were notified. By that point, it was clear something was wrong. The young woman, who had been lively and eager to enjoy her time in Aruba, was nowhere to be found. The search for Natalee Holloway began immediately. Police combed through the hotel, questioning the staff and looking for any clues. They checked her room, found that her personal belongings were left behind, and realized that her passport, purse, and camera were still in the room. It was clear that she hadn't planned to leave, and the situation became even more concerning. The investigation quickly turned toward the 3 men Natalee had been last seen with. Joran van der Sloot, the Dutch national who had accompanied her, initially claimed that he had dropped her off at her hotel, but his story changed repeatedly. As the investigation unfolded, police discovered inconsistencies in his statements. In the days that followed, the search expanded beyond the hotel grounds. Search teams scoured the island's beaches, cliffs, and waters, using divers, dogs, and helicopters to search for Natalee. But there were no traces of her. The case quickly gained international attention, with media outlets around the world covering the story. As pressure mounted on local authorities to find Natalie, the investigation into the three men's involvement became the focal point. Despite repeated questioning, Joran van der Sloot, Deepak Kalpoe, and Satish Kalpoe all maintained their innocence. However, the inconsistencies in their stories raised suspicions. Authorities soon found out that Joran van der Sloot had a criminal history, and reports surfaced that he had been involved in previous incidents. Meanwhile, Natalie's mother, Beth Holloway, arrived in Aruba to join the search. She immediately began speaking with the media, pleading for help and demanding answers. Her determined, emotional public appeals put the case in the global spotlight. On June 5, 2005, Joran van der Sloot and the two Kalpoe brothers were arrested and held in custody by Aruba's police. They were charged with the illegal detention and abduction of Natalie. But the lack of physical evidence and the inconsistencies in their stories meant the charges could not be sustained. The case took a dramatic turn when investigators uncovered a police confession by Joran van der Sloot in 2007. He admitted that he had lied about his actions on the night of Natalie's disappearance. However, his confession was inconsistent with the evidence, and he later retracted his statements, saying that he had been coerced into making them. The investigation stretched on for months and years with no new leads. Despite extensive efforts by local authorities and the FBI, Natalie's body was never found, and no charges were ever brought against the three men. Joran van der Sloot, however, continued to be a primary suspect in the case. In 2010, Joran van der Sloot was arrested in Peru for the murder of another young woman, Stephanie Flores. This brought renewed attention to Natalie's case, as the two cases were eerily similar. However, the evidence against him in the case of Natalee Holloway remained inconclusive. As the years passed, the case became a cold case, but the media attention did not die down. In 2012, a documentary aired in the United States, bringing the case back into the public eye and revisiting the unanswered questions. It exposed new details, including the cell tower data, which provided a timeline of the suspect's whereabouts that night. Still, no new leads surfaced that could conclusively explain what happened to Natalie. The investigation into Natalee Holloway's disappearance continues to this day, but her disappearance remains unsolved. There have been multiple theories about her fate, from being abducted by someone she knew, to having an accident, to being involved in foul play. What happened to Natalee Holloway? Was it a carefully planned crime, or a tragic event that spiraled out of control? What do you believe happened to Natalie? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoy true mysteries like this one, subscribe for more. Because sometimes the most chilling stories are the ones that really happened.